Hey you guys! So today I want to talk about healthy eating on a budget. It's really expensive to get good quality food for cheap. The thing that sucks about our society the most is that the healthier the food is that we're eating, the more expensive it tends to be, which is just totally jacked up. Spring is on the horizon, and this is a really good time to just start thinking about what food we're eating, how we're getting it, and where it's coming from. CSAs, it stands for Community Supported Agriculture. The whole point is to allow people access to really, really clean and organic and local produce. Usually the CSAs start around between May and June. That's when they usually begin the summer shares, and then it ends in like September, October, and every program is different, but that's kind of like the average for most of them. Basically, you pay in advance depending on what share you decide to go with. Now there's ones that are just vegetables, and there's ones that are vegetables and fruit, or just fruit, like eggs and cheese as well, and then there's others that also offer meat, so you can kind of mix and match what it is you want your CSA to be for the year, or I should say for the season. Once you've paid it, every week you get a portion, like what would be considered a box or a bag. You usually have to bring your own bag because it's also supposed to be eco-friendly, what we're doing. So you bring your own bag and you get a certain amount of pounds of each produce that you're getting for that week. You might get a whole bunch of squash, and onions, and garlic, and kale, and blueberries, and I could go on, and now I'm getting hungry. It's actually a lot. One share tends to be quite a good amount. If you're doing it with one person, sometimes it tends to be too much. Some people like to also split a share with friends, because the only thing about it is it does feel kind of expensive when you're initially paying. My share, I guess the one that I did was around $500, I think. That was split, so it was $250 each. $250 for 4 or 5 months of produce. It's not that much when you think about it. Some CSAs also have programs for low-income families, so even if you feel like you might not make enough to be able to afford that, there are programs that are for families that can't afford the normal amounts that the CSAs cost. So it's really good to check out either way. The only thing about CSAs is they tend to have waiting lists that are quite long. I want to do this video now because this is a great time to start looking for CSAs near you and getting on the waiting lists right around, I think, April. And between March and April they start sending out requests for finding out who wants to renew their CSA from the year before, and then the people on the waiting list are then contacted and given the opportunity to sign up. Joining a food co-op is another option. You usually dedicate a couple hours out of your month to volunteer. Some places require 4, some kind of places require 8. Depends on the place you go to. Some co-ops are kind of strict. They're kind of like, you have to do these hours, and if you don't volunteer these hours, then you are like excommunicated until you actually do your time. But there's a reason for that. So just want to make sure that it's fair for everyone. If you're putting your time in and then Susie isn't putting her time in, but she can get to shop there, they don't want people getting salty about it. And you do the register, you do stocking, inventory, things like that, and that gives you a membership. Usually people who are members are only the ones who can shop there. Some food co-ops allow anyone to come in and buy things, but many of them just only allow people who have volunteered their time to contribute to the community of the co-op to be able to buy stuff there. Most food co-ops, the prices are way less, like a lot less than what you would pay at a regular grocery store for organic food. So instead of paying $80 at the grocery store, you'll spend like half the price. Or if you're spending $40, you'll spend $20. And it's a noticeable difference when it's like 50% less, or even 35% less than what you're paying. All of that is money that's now in your pocket instead of not. The third option is doing, if you're like, oh, I don't have time to be at a food co-op, you can also hit up a farmer's market. Everybody's heard about farmer's markets at this point. They're pretty, common. The only thing I've noticed about farmer's markets is that I don't know if it's that much cheaper. Then I think a CSA is cheaper. Getting stuff at a food co-op can tend to be a little cheaper. Farmers markets are still cheap, but I don't know. I go to a farmer's market and somehow I've spent like $60 and I don't really know how I've managed to do that. I'll have a lot of food, but it's still probably more than I would normally intend to spend. I don't know. I just get carried away. Maybe it's just a matter of self-control. I have none, apparently. Yeah. If you don't have a food co-op near you, or a farmer's market, or you can't get access to a CSA, if you have a grocery store like a Whole Foods or a Whole Foods, most people I talk to are like, I don't go to Whole Foods. It's expensive. I'm not. No. There are days where I'm just like, why did I come here? I'm broke now. If you do decide to go to Whole Foods, what I tend to do to not spend so much money is to buy most of the things I'm getting in bulk. So I'll buy the mixed greens because you can do it by the pound and get as much as you like. That to me tends to be a little cheaper than getting the prepackaged plastic container of salad greens. I tend to get pounds and pounds of lentils, rice, beans of any kind, dried fruit, like so raisins and cranberries, the things like that tend to be a lot more expensive when you go to a regular grocery store. Tends to be a lot cheaper when you get it in bulk. So the plan is to find creative ways to spend a lot less. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to share that. These are some good tips, good starting points. I hope this was helpful for you guys, and I will see you